April 21st, 1977, a rainy day in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it was a very important day because neither myself or Clayton would argue about that, because that was the day he was born, and it was also the day I was born too. Our mothers were friends who just happened to go into labor on the same day, and I was 7 hours older, to the minute, born at 7:51 a.m., while Clayton Bradley was born to Jim and Jan Hodges at 2:51 p.m. Thus began a lifetime of birthday parties, dressed as twins in matching outfits, holidays, trips to the lake, memorable moments from our school days, and a shared love and early affection for the theater. Early in his life, Clayton was Clay, and that's all I ever knew him to be, and I always called him Clay. Even in middle school, when he changed his name to the much cooler Clayton and started going out with the most popular girl in our grade. In truth, Clay was always more popular than I, and we all know why he was so well-liked through his whole life. Clay had a unique, sometimes off-the-charts, infectious energy, and was just always someone who drew people to him. Not only was he expert and effortless from the beginning in making people feel validated in his presence, but his friends always knew inevitably something fun or truly out of the ordinary and perhaps absolutely insane was going to happen. I haven't heard what everyone else has to say today, but I have a feeling we're going to have some common themes. Clay was a prankster from the beginning. He was always up to something and about 3 steps ahead of everyone else. And because he was born with that special charisma, it seemed to me that he was always somehow able to get away with whatever he was up to. Take, for example, what he dared to do in the 8th grade at our Catholic school. It was Sister Julia's Russian history class, and she was all business. And this would have been about 1990-91, well before cell phones were in everyone's pocket, and the idea of a phone ringing in the middle of middle school class would have been absolutely ridiculous because we didn't have phones in the classrooms and people didn't have phones with them or anywhere in their belongings. So one day, in the middle of Sister's lecture on the Romanovs, a phone rings in the classroom. And I'll never forget, it was so bizarre. And it rang again, and Sister stopped, just as bewildered as the rest of us. We didn't really know where it was coming from, but it was clear that it was in the classroom. And after another ring or two, Clay pulls out of his JanSport backpack a phone, a really big one with an antenna, and he nonchalantly says, "Hello," as if this was something that happened every day. Meanwhile, the entire class sat slack-jawed that this was happening. You could hear a pin drop. And I don't remember exactly what Sister said at that point, or even if she said anything at all. But I do remember that Clay, after an appropriate beat, nonchalantly saying as he held up the phone, "Sister, it's for you." And I have no idea where he got that phone or how he made it ring in that class, but he had clearly planned out this little prank just to break up the monotony in the class. And more importantly, he had dared to make Sister Julia laugh. And that's just Clay summed up in one little story, somewhat unpredictable, possessing an ever-present sense of humor, and always up for some fun. And even with that silliness, he was always smart and a tenacious worker, setting goals, attending the best schools, starting businesses, and making his life the way he wanted it from the very beginning. And while doing that, he was always serving as a teacher, giving guidance and inspiration to those around him. In fact, I truly believe that Clay was a caretaker. He was the one who took the train all the way to Midtown from the East Village just to pick me up and take me back downtown because I'd never been on the subway. He also took time out of his multiple career projects to come back home to Tulsa just a few years ago to give some amazingly energetic workshops and to direct the importance of being earnest for his home theater in Oklahoma. I'm so grateful that I got to spend a few days with him and Susan and Cece here in LA in September at a moment in his treatment where he had started a new medication that was helping him communicate more clearly and move without much difficulty. And he was the Clay I always knew. He had a plan for me, and he bounded into the car, and he said, "Okay, sister, you want to go on an LA adventure?" And just as the tenacious, mission-driven man that he was, guided me on our first of several fun things that he had planned, I was very aware that even though a disease was brewing in his body, it was going to have to fight hard to take this man and his spirit. And he talked in those days. He was dumbfounded and determined and emotional all at the same time. And even among all of that, he always turned his attention to me, to my work and my family, and asked a ton of questions, encouraged conversation, and gave advice. He was so selfless, even in the face of death, that he wanted to make sure that I was okay. What a legacy he leaves behind. Such a life filled with fun and joy and hard work and inspiration. He truly packed it all in. And I know that he is now at peace, without pain, with Kevin. The last thing he said to me was goodbye, my sister. His physical presence on this planet will be sorely missed and sensed by me for the rest of my life, because I've never lived without him. But within all of us and all whom he touched, his effervescent spirit will live on. May we carry it in our hearts and never miss a chance to hang out with family or friends, or make a joke, or play a prank in honor of Clay.